What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Justin. This is Movie Watch. Now on Movie Watch, we do movie reviews, ranking videos, top 10 lists, unboxings. I talk about physical media and retro toys, horror movies. If you're a big movie fan, I think you might dig the channel. Have a look around, look at my other videos, and think about subscribing. But today you're here to find out everything we know so far about Robert Eggers' next film, The Northman. Before I dive into that, and there's a lot to talk about, trust me, I want to know what you guys think. What do you think about Robert Eggers' next film, The Northman? The cast, the story, his jump to bigger, more ambitious projects. Were you a fan of The Lighthouse, The Witch? I want to know what you guys think. I am really looking forward to this film, and I want to know what other movie fans are thinking as well. So let me know in the comments below all of your thoughts on Robert Eggers and his new film, The Northman, and any other movies you want me to review or just to say what's up. What up? Now let's dive into everything we know so far about Robert Eggers' The Northman. Now for most of us, we became aware of Robert Eggers and his quirky little films with 2015's The Witch, a beautiful, bleak, mesmerizing, dark tale of a 1630s New England family plagued by witchcraft, black magic, possession, and all kinds of other crazy shit. It made a household name out of Anya Taylor-Joy, and it really put Robert Eggers on the map as one of the most exciting upcoming filmmakers in the last decade or so. Then 4 years later, in 2019, the genre maestro gave us The Lighthouse, an equally bleak yet slightly more humorous entry into his filmography, with brilliant performances from Willem Dafoe and a head-turning role played against type by Robert Pattinson. Both sadly ignored by the Academy, which is usually the case with genre and horror films. Just ask Toni Collette. Then also in 2019, Robert Eggers announced his next project, The Northman. Now this film would be co-written by Robert Eggers himself alongside Icelandic poet, author, and songwriter Sion. Now, Sion was somebody who I'd never heard of until I started deep diving information about this movie. And after reading up on him, this ridiculous cast, this insane plot and production, I could not be more excited for The Northman. Now, having co-written The Lighthouse with his brother Max, Robert Eggers is no stranger to collaboration. However, his Northman co-writer Sion may seem like an odd choice to us here in the States. However, in his home country of Iceland, Sion is known for his massively impressive body of work. Wow! And he actually has some really unique credits in US movies as well. Robert Eggers met Sion at a dinner party. In an interview, he went on to say, "I went to Iceland and thought I ought to make a Viking movie." I met Sion at a dinner party. He had recently written a book about witchcraft in the 17th century Iceland. I bought a bunch of his books and thought, wow. Sion has pedigree as a poet, novelist, and lyricist who wrote the lyrics for Lars von Trier's Dancer in the Dark, as well as lyrics for some of Bjork's tunes. And he actually was nominated for an Oscar for his work in Lars von Trier's Dancer in the Dark. If you haven't seen that, it's a very strange movie. So he has some really cool ties to really interesting projects. According to Sion's personal website, The Northman seeks its dramatic inspirations from the Icelandic sagas, as well as from the latest in archaeological discoveries. So apparently the Icelandic sagas that are mentioned are these poetic, dramatic narrative accounts of Icelandic Viking history, which apparently Sion is really well versed in. Hearing that the inspiration for The Northman is rooted in Icelandic history and archaeological discoveries, it really makes you see they're attempting to make this really period-specific story as historically accurate as possible, and it makes it even more exciting and more interesting. And hearing about the inspirations, it's kind of giving me Game of Thrones feels. It's been so long since we've had a really high-budget, epic medieval story. We've had The Witcher, but that isn't quite up to par as something like Game of Thrones. So it's just another interesting aspect of the story, and that it's rooted in this rich history of Iceland. So now let's talk about the ridiculous cast of this movie, the plot, and a couple of tidbits of information as far as the production and story that a couple of the cast members have given in various interviews recently. So let's dive into that right now. So The Northman is set at the turn of the 10th century Iceland. It stars Alexander Skarsgård as Prince Amleth, seeking revenge after his father is murdered. I love a good revenge story. Now, Alexander Skarsgård's brother Bill Skarsgård was supposed to star in this movie, but unfortunately he had to drop out due to scheduling conflicts. Such a bummer. I know it would have been so cool to have Alexander and Bill, Pennywise himself, together in this role, but the rest of the cast is awesome, so we'll just have to deal with that. We don't really know the details of each role. We pretty much know the actor and their character's name. That's really all we know so far. I'm sure I'm going to pronounce a lot of these wrong, so sorry. Nicole Kidman as Queen Gudrun. Anya Taylor-Joy is reuniting with Eggers, but no character name has been given yet. Willem Dafoe once again joins Eggers as Heimer the Fool. Ethan Hawke as King Horwendel. He's going to be the king to Nicole Kidman's character. Ralph Ineson, whose character name and role is unknown at this time, but he has some really interesting things to say about this movie. We'll get to that in a minute. Halftor Bjornsson, the Mountain himself from Game of Thrones, plays a character called Thorfinner. Kate Dickie, who has been in a bunch of cool stuff. She was also in The Witch. She played Catherine in The Witch. She'll play Haldor the Peaked. And finally, notable cast member Bjork will play the Slav Witch. Apparently her daughter has also been cast as well. And then just a bunch of super badass, beardy looking, Icelandic looking dudes. You can check out the IMDb. The cast is already pretty stacked. It was pretty interesting looking at the IMDb because all these guys' pictures just in their IMDb, like headshots, look like Vikings. So it was pretty funny to look at that cast. Go check that out on IMDb. Now, although we don't know anything but a basic plot, there's been a few actors and Robert Eggers himself who have given us some insight into how massive this production is. This will be Robert Eggers' biggest, largest, most lavish production to date. The scope of this film just sounds absolutely insane. Robert Eggers says in an interview about his process, this movie, there is rarely a scene that isn't on a boat or doesn't have a lot of extras. There's many locations in the film, so we were constantly going on scouts to find places or reassess places that we have found, and we're building sets there. We're designing all these worlds, building all these villages. We're making thousands of costumes and props, training the horses, the things they'll need to do, designing the shots of the film. Anya Taylor-Joy goes on to say, I am so proud to be a part of this project. Every moment on the set, I'm proud. I think we will be presenting to the world something it genuinely hasn't seen before. I just feel so humbled to get to be a part of it. Then actor Ralph Ineson gave a quote that I was particularly stoked to hear. It's an enormous movie, Ineson recently told NME. I saw a 4-minute montage of some stuff they had already shot and I was really blown away. The marriage of Robert Eggers' imagination and Viking folklore, Jesus, man. Also goes on to say about Alexander Skarsgård's character, he looks like an absolute beast. There's a scene where he beats this guy in a battle, bends down and rips his throat out with his teeth, screams to the gods, and he's got his shirt off, and you think, my God, that's not a bodybuilder doing a scene. That's like a proper serious actor. He made himself look like some kind of a monster for the part. The dedication's incredible. Ineson concluded, I think it will be a bit of a masterpiece, to be honest. Hearing that this movie is going to be insanely brutal, there was another quote that I couldn't dig up where Ralph Ineson was talking about how hyper violent the movie is. So I think we are going to see epic sea battles, insane war sequences. So if the story involves a prince, Alexander Skarsgård, that means he's going on to be the king. That means he has power of people, he has armies. So to avenge his father's death, he's going to create an army and go after whoever it is that did this with just epic proportions, Game of Thrones style. I could not be more stoked. Now, because of the pandemic, there was a couple hiccups in production. The film was shut down in March, resumed again in August, and completed shooting in December. Principal photography is now done. Now we're in post-production. So who knows when we'll start getting more information trickling out about the plot. We'll get posters, release date information. It's all we really know so far. But just hearing him talk about how epic this movie is going to be gets my medieval juices flowing. Guys, that's all we know so far. Like I said in the comments below, let me know all of your thoughts about Robert Eggers' The Northman. I myself am super stoked. Petey. Come here, Petey. Come here, buddy. Oh. My buddy Pete here is super stoked, and we could not be more stoked because we're stoked. So guys, that's all I got. Drop those comments below. Slap a like on this video. Look at my other shit. I hope you enjoyed this video. Share it, like it, all that type of stuff. That's all I got. You got anything before we go, Pete? Okay, that's all we got. Guys, thank you so much for stopping by. Stay weird, and until next time, bye.
I love movies. Gosh, I love movies. I love watching them, and I love making them.